Hare Krishna devotees, welcome for ISKCON West, outpost of ISKCON Seshadripuram, for the Sunday evening feast program, where we have been having regular Kirtan and Bhagavad Gita class. So we have reached up to 6th chapter in Bhagavad Gita, almost end of 6th chapter as we speak over the last 2-3 years. So we are soon also looking to take this offline also. We'll have it online too, but offline also. Hopefully, in the next 1 or 2 weeks, we should materialize that, and we can be having more devotees sitting right here in front of us, where we used to have 40-50 devotees coming every week. So, looking back to going those days and then having more people coming in, and I was speaking about Goshti Anandi. Before we started the class, that means have more and more people join the ecstatic Kirtan and Harikatha. So hopefully the situation, Krishna blesses that we can have an offline, the same session offline as well, where of course we can have the physically we can have prasadam, plate of prasadam served to all of us. Looking forward to those days in the very near future, Krishna willing. So we will start with our class today. So today we will be doing verse numbers. We'll be doing 6th chapter, 3-6. Maybe if we have time, we can do 1 or 2 more also. Verse number 65. We'll share the screen. I will read the verse. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Asamshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha Grihyate. Word by word meaning. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, the personality of Godhead said, Asamshayam, undoubtedly, Mahabaho, O mighty armed one, Manaha, the mind, Durnigraham, difficult to curb, Chalam, flickering, Abhyasena, by practice, Tu, but, Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, Vairagyena, by detachment, Cha, also, Grihyate, can be so controlled. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Lord Sri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. Purport: the difficulty of controlling the obstinate mind, as expressed by Arjuna, is accepted by the personality of Godhead. But at the same time, he suggests that by practice and detachment it is possible. What is that practice? In the present age, no one can absorb the strict rules and regulations of placing oneself in a sacred place, focusing the mind on the super soul, restraining the senses and mind, absorbing celibacy, remaining alone, etc. By the practice of Krishna consciousness, however, one engages in 9 types of devotional service to the Lord. The first and foremost of such devotional engagement is hearing about Krishna. This is a very powerful transcendental method for purging the mind of all misgivings. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. By detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn Vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in spirit. Impersonal spiritual detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to the activities of Krishna. This is practical because by hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to the Supreme Spirit. This attachment is called Paresanubhava, spiritual satisfaction. It is just like the feeling of satisfaction of hungry man, satisfaction a hungry man has for every morsel of food he eats. The more one eats with while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. Similarly, by discharging of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from material objectives. It is sometimes like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Hearing of the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind, and eating the foodstuffs offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness. See the next verse also. Verse number 36. Asamsaya asam asam असंयतात् मनायोगो दुष्प्राप इति मे मतिः वस्यात् मना तु तत् यतता सको अवाप सको अवाप्तुम् उपायतः असंयतात्मना योगो दुष्प्राप इति मे मतिः वश्यात् मना तु यतता शक्यो अवाप्तुम् उपायतः असंशयतात् मना योगो दुष्प्राप इति मे मतिः वस्यात् मना तु यतता शक्यो अवाप्तुम् उपायतः. Word by word meaning. Asamyata, unbridled. Atmana, by the mind. Yogaha, self-realization. Dushprapaha, difficult to obtain. Iti, thus, me, my. Matihi, opinion. Vasya, controlled. Atmana, by the mind. Tu, but. Yatata, while endeavoring. Sakyaha, practical. Avaptum, to achieve. Upayataha, by appropriate means. Translation. For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead declares that one who does not accept the proper treatment to detach the mind from material engagement can hardly achieve success in self-realization. Trying to practice yoga while engaging the mind in material enjoyment is like trying to ignite a fire while pouring water on it. Yoga practice without mental control is a waste of time. Such a show of yoga may be materially lucrative, but it is useless as far as spiritual realization is concerned. Therefore, one must control the mind by engaging it constantly in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Unless one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, he cannot steadily control the mind. A Krishna conscious person easily achieves the result of yoga practice without separate endeavor. But a yoga practitioner cannot achieve success without becoming Krishna conscious. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadanti Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणी जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हरि ओम तत्सत् नमः ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते जयपताक स्वामिनिति नामिने नम आचार्य पादाय निताय कृपा प्रदायिने गौरकथा धामदाय नगरग्राम तारिणे. This is in continuation of the previous verses in 36.34. It is Arjuna speaking to Krishna there, where he is saying, the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think is more difficult than controlling the wind. So this is a statement of fact by Arjuna. Like, and Achyuta Prabhu last week gave a nice class. So he was saying, if Arjuna himself cannot control the mind, who is supposed to be completely very well accomplished, he is one of the most accomplished persons in the world then, even today. Like, Arjuna is someone who even went out of this material world in the same body along with Krishna. So, right from the sphere of what do you call this, astronomy, to even the physical warfare or whatever, Arjuna has done it all. There is nobody who can claim that I have done what Arjuna has done. So, such a person who is very, very capable, very well equipped, he was of the view that these things are very difficult because the mind is very, very difficult to control, and therefore it is like the controlling the wind. It's, this is a statement by Arjuna after hearing the. Because this chapter is very highly dedicated to the yogic process, or the what do you call, the Ashtanga yoga process. Um, uh, but everywhere, if you can see, Prabhupada has been highlighting the impracticality of performing that in today's context in terms of the Kali Yuga from a spiritual point of view, some self-realization point of view. Of course, today yoga is becoming very popular, which is actually not addressing the spiritual aspect at all. We can see that very, very clearly. It's more used like an exercise which sort of helps mostly the body, or in some cases people try to use it to the higher state of body, which is the mind and the intelligence. Because today yoga is also going into the corporate world, and by and large it is also used for the mind, for the body, but a lot of people are trying to use it to keep the mind alert, to make the mind very focused, uh, you know particularly at top management level, how they can handle pressure, how you can think out of the box. For all of these things, how can we use yoga, right? So this is happening, but this is the statement by Arjuna. For that, Krishna is actually being very uh, positive about what the view of, or rather encouraging. Krishna is very encouraging when he sees his student showing little bit of dejection, saying, oh boss, I can't do this. It's very difficult for me to do all these things, whatever you're saying. So Krishna immediately senses that, and then therefore he gives him a very encouraging response. But of course, it's not as simply, some people do this encouragement. You can do it, you can do it, okay. But it's not about simply just patting on the back, but also giving some practical tips of how you can still achieve it. But he's first acknowledging the statement. He's not rubbishing what Arjuna is saying. Generally, sometimes we do that, right? When we are dealing with people, For us it may look a simple thing, but when that person who's performing it, he is coming up to you and saying, boss, this is a very challenging task. Uh, when you as the coach, or you as the supervisor, or you as the higher authority, if you simply say, boss, what is the difficulty there? Yeah, just go back and do it, figure it out. If you say that one, the fellow is already down, and then, you give this kind of messaging, and then he completely gets lost, and he gets into panic mode. So Krishna is an accomplished manager also, right? He manages this entire cosmic manifestation. So he understands immediately, and therefore he acknowledges, yes, Arjuna, it is not a very easy thing. For Krishna, this is child's play. But he does not rubbish Arjuna by saying that, this is child's play. What are you talking here? You are such an accomplished man. If you are talking like this, what is this nonsense? Go back, figure it out. If you can't do it, then, who will do it? Just go and, figure it out. He starts saying that. He's saying, yes, Arjuna, I completely agree what you are saying. It is very difficult to control the mind. And it is also a statement of fact. Like, Krishna is saying, because he's giving practical tips to say how to win over it. But he's saying, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. He's saying two words in Sanskrit, if you see. He says, abhyasena. We all understand abhyasa, right? I think Hindi, even Kannada, all of them, abhyasa means practice. And vairagyena, that is, the word is detachment. So if you are able to strictly apply, or sincerely try these two aspects, abhyasa, that means practice, and then if you are able to try and do detachment, then Arjuna, it is doable. Yeah, it is difficult, but it is doable. This is what Krishna's statement. But if you really go into the how Prabhupada very beautifully analyzes the whole thing and gives us a practically how a lot of tips around this one. So as we again keep saying, this kind of a practice, because this, when he says you practice, what practice? Practice is all about how Krishna has explained how yoga has to be done. That is the real practice, right? It's not simply sitting somewhere and then trying to do your breath control, because Krishna has taken so much of time to tell how this yoga is to be performed. So there are so many do's and don'ts, and a lot of those do's are practically impossible in today's context. Maybe in Arjuna's time, maybe possible, but today's context, some of these things, again, Prabhupada is bringing us to our memory of those verses where what are the things that are required to be maintained, or rather minimum requirement to perform yoga. So he talks about strict rules and regulations of placing oneself in a sacred place, including keeping a kusha grass under your, not the yoga mat, the kusha grass. That is what it needs to be under your inner seat to be even what you call the qualification of starting something called a yoga. So that is there. And then and it should be in a sacred place, not anywhere and everywhere we think that it's a place where I can do yoga. Yoga has to be done in a sacred place. That means it should be either sanctified through proper mantra, or it should be in holy places like whatever, the banks of Ganges, Yamuna, wherever, many holy places in India are there. Gaya, many places, like wonderful places which are considered really holy, so sacred places. So one should be in such a place while performing this kind of a yoga practice, focusing the mind on the super soul, which is the most important thing. That means it is not on thinking on some void, or maybe thinking on today I was coming and was having a discussion with Arya Prabhu while we were coming back from temple. So he was mentioning, someone was saying, you should focus on, he used the word, what did he say? Focus on something. Then he said, no, I'm finding it very difficult to focus on those things, but it is not to be focused on any of those things other than Krishna. I was telling him, yoga means you focus, your meditation should be on the super soul who is situated inside the heart. Here Prabhupada is indicating that. Focusing the mind on the super soul. Restraining the senses and mind, most important. Restraining the senses and mind. That means the senses should be given a lot of austerity. That means the entire mouth, stomach, and the genitals, they should be restrained. That means you you speak austerely. That means you don't speak like prajalpa. That means gossip. You do not, talk ill of others. You use your words in a very, like, in fact, mauna vrita, they say, one of the points of yoga, like, no, you need to be mum. That means, you cannot, but we can't even as I'm sitting, someone is walking there, I feel, hey, no, our mind is so disturbed. He says, Chanchala Sri Manakrishna. The mind is very, very disturbed, right? Then, but then Mauna Vrita has to be followed, and then starting from the mouth, saying good words, controlling the speech, and of course, also starting point of eating, what we eat, we should be austere in our eating, um, and naturally the stomach, whatever we eat, has to be controlled, and then the genitals also to be really very well controlled. Not that people are whimsically looking for sense gratification, which is what drives this world today, right? That's there. I don't want to go deeper. Mind is just thinking of how today even yoga becomes a kind of a stimulants for people to see, people watch these yoga channels. I don't know why we watch also. You see there the women are half clad. The idea of seeing that is, okay, here is a nice, body that I can watch. The mind goes like that if you see. So that is also made business. Prabhupada writes, right? You can make it commercially viable, right? Kind of a thing. And then we talks about observing mind, and then observing celibacy. What we talked about, the genitals. Remaining alone, another aspect, right? There's always, you say, you go into a secluded place. If you remember that verse where it is mentioned, you should go into a secluded place. Remaining alone, etc. So these are all the things. So in reality, one should follow all these processes to actually qualify to perform yoga. Otherwise, it's a non-starter from a self-realization point of view. But we can do yoga for so many other things. That's okay. Here again, for spiritual realization, doesn't make sense. Then the first and foremost of such devotional engagement is hearing about Krishna. So then he is now giving the practical aspect of it. That means if your mind should be focused on the super soul, first I need to have some attraction to the super soul. Then only I can. If, for example, if I am to think, okay, Achyuta Prabhu or Rohit Prabhu, if I at all anyone, Kapil Prabhu, Amrendra Prabhu, whoever, if I think of them, there should be something which attracts me to them, right? Otherwise, why would I bother about thinking about them? There should be something which attracts me to them. Maybe their smile, or their genuine behavior, or their words, or their intelligence, or something about them, or their power, whatever. Something should really attract me to that person. And how will I know that unless I try to figure out about that person, right? Which means I need to understand that person. That means that's what here Prabhupada is giving an thing. You have to be engaged in hearing about Krishna. That means if you hear about Krishna, you are able to pick up some aspects which attracts you to him, right? So then you can be more focusing your mind on that super soul, right? If there are some aspects that we like about this person, then you keep meditating on those aspects. It's very easy to meditate, right? About that person, not simply thinking, oh, Coca-Cola. And then you should immediately think how the taste is, how the fizz is. Then it makes sense. Otherwise, if you simply say a word Coca-Cola, how does it matter? Therefore, to meditate on the super soul, you should know about the super soul. What are his qualities? What are his activities? Like that. So Prabhupada is giving a simple technique. The first and foremost of such devotional engagement is hearing about Krishna. This is a very powerful transcendental method for purging the mind of all misgivings. So this is simple, right? Purging the mind of all misgivings. Out, he writes in one simple sentence such a powerful message. purging the mind of misgivings. All our anarthas can just be vanquished by taking the holy name of the Lord. Achyuta Prabhu Vani, he reads uh, Namamrita. So many of these things come there. The mind, by taking the holy name of the Lord, all the misgivings are vanquished from our heart. This is there. And the more we are able to take the holy name of the Lord, and the more and more we are cleansed, all the anarthas are just thrown out of the window. See, the next word is that the more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened. So naturally you become enlightened, and he is pure spirit, right? So the more you are attached to that pure spirit, your matter reduces. It's natural. And detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. I am reminded of one wonderful Bengali poem, but I'm not able to recall the verse, but I remember hearing this many times. They say, I wish I could actually say this. It's very beautiful. There is one poet who sang, he says, if you want to keep your attachments, don't look at that boy who's having 3 twists in his body. Huh? Tribanga. So he says, if you want to keep your attachment, don't look at this boy. If you want to do this, don't look at this boy. Like this, he gives a wonderful many things. That means all that which is actually anarthas. If you want to retain, don't look at Krishna. But if you look at Krishna, all these anarthas will go away from you. That's the message of that beautiful song. It's because of my ignorance, I'm not able to either remember or say those beautiful words. Because if you see that how he word by every line by line he talks about, if you want to do this, don't look at this boy who's standing in the by the Yamuna. He's standing by the Yamuna, but don't look at him. If you have this, don't look at him. If you want this, don't look at him. Generally, we say, right, if you want this, you look at him, or you go to him. But here he's saying, if you want to hold this, don't look at this boy. Like that, he sings that. Where he's listing down all the, where he's talking about all the anarthas. My wife is reminding me of another story, where in the period of Ramanujacharya, there was one wonderful person. He was very much, somehow he saw there was one lady, she was, I think, I don't know, I don't want to speculate, but there was one lady who was very beautiful, very beautiful. So this man was very much captivated by the beauty of this woman. So one day, there was a procession of the Lord going, and Ramanujacharya was also walking along. And this lady happened to be around there, and this man also happened to be around there. And then Ramanujacharya is seeing this lady is actually trying to take darshan of the Lord, and this man is actually taking darshan of this lady. His eyes is not even moving out of that. He will be thinking lotus face of this beautiful woman. He'll be holding an umbrella for her, he'll be holding an umbrella and looking at her so-called beautiful face in his mind. And he was not ready to move his eyes here and there even to take darshan of the Lord. And Ramanujacharya sees this man and is very astonished. Here Ranganath is coming on the street, and everybody is fixed his eyes on Ranganath, and this fellow has fixed his eyes on this woman like that. So then he reaches the procession ends, and then Ramanuja sends word to that man and says, you bring that man to me. I want to speak to him. So that man then reaches Ramanujacharya and said, so I saw you during this procession, and you were looking at that lady. What is so much great about this lady? Here Ranganath is here. Why not you take darshan of Lord Ranganath? And then this man says, no, she is so beautiful. I am so much attracted. I can't take my eyes off her. Whatever features like this. Then Ramanujacharya understands this thing, Arjuna is talking about it. The mind is very difficult to control, like that of the wind. So then he says, okay, you come tomorrow. You come and meet me tomorrow, like that. So he goes to Ranganath. He comes the next day to Lord Ramanujacharya, and Ramanujacharya takes him to the deity of Ranganath, and he says, "You look at his eyebrow. You just look at his eyebrow," and then he focuses on the eyebrow of Ranganath, and then his complete lust goes away. His complete lust goes away. So then Ramanujacharya calls that lady, and then says, you marry this man. Then they both marry, and then he gives both of them initiation, and then they both were actually engaged in doing wonderful service to Lord Ranganath. So this is a real history. So the here that clue was, if you are very lusty, then the what do you call the eyebrows of Lord Ranganath can actually remove this lusty nature. Like this, by taking the name of the Lord, or I was starting with the name of the Lord, then the past time got us to the eyebrow of the Lord. But whatever it is, eyebrow or name, there is another verse which says, in Brahma Samhita, which talks about the Lord can perform Angani yasya shakalendriya vrittimanti pashyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti. That means the Lord can perform any activity of any senses through another sense. So that means he can uh, touch with his nose. I mean, not like how you touch with the hand like that, or he can eat with his eyes. There's also this philosophy of, if you offer bhoga to the Lord, how is it that many people make a lot of sarcastic remarks? Oh, you kept that plate in front of the Lord, how he will eat? He has not even touched it like this. But we rascals don't understand that the potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can actually, with his eye, actually taste that food. It is said that, if you see in the creation of the world, it's mentioned very clearly, the Lord glanced at nature and impregnated her with living entities. The Lord glanced at nature and impregnated her with living entities. Just imagine, that means he performed the reproductory function with just his eyes. He does not need another different, what do you call, the senses to do different activities. He can do everything with everything else. So that is the beauty of the Lord. So in this case, the holy name of the Lord, or his eyebrow, or whatever, they all are very capable of making us spiritualized. That's why this prasadam also, right? There is somewhere we saw this also, that the more we take prasadam, the more we are spiritualized. Prasadam is completely pure spirit, even though it looks like material thing, the rice or whatever, wheat, whatever you make, they apparently look spiritual, material, but they are spiritualized because the Lord has touched it through, when I say touched it, now we understand it could be through the eye or whatever, through the nose. If the smell is coming from that food also, he can, if he uses it, that is also like tasting it through the mouth, whatever. The Lord is very capable. So when we take that prasadam, we are spiritualized. So this is very important. So this point made here is uh, purging the mind of all misgivings. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. So this is a very simple philosophy. We were talking earlier also when Mataji had first joined. So this is like, this is a way of life. It's not simply sitting somewhere and maybe chanting. Yes, we chant for some time, but we are not like Namacharya Haridas Thakur, where we can chant 24 hours by 7. Our what do you call, our taste for the holy name is not there. So we may chant enthusiastically for some time. After that, mind wanders away. But the point is, if you are actually engaged in different services in association of devotees, then you don't realize time just flies by. You don't realize, oh, I have spent so much of time in this devotional activity. It's so blissful. So, and it is completely what do you call, transcendental, completely spiritual. So I keep always giving this example. If you are thinking, okay, today I need to go for either a chanting session or a book reading session or Bhagavatam class or a Bhagavad Gita class or even a Kirtan, right from the time you are even thinking about it, your mind is spiritualized. You are not even actually started that activity. You are thinking, oh, I should get up today for the chanting session. That's it. You are already purified your mind by that simple thought. Even in this Ranganath, so I don't know, today more talk about Ranganath is coming. So Ranganath, I saw this one where it says, like, many of us want to do yatra, right? Even if you desire that I want to go to Sri Rangam in Trichirappalli, Sri Rangam, even your thought that I want to visit Tirupati, I want to visit Sri Rangam, that means you have already performed that yatra, not even physically having to go. Even a thought like that is actually as absolute as really going there, because it is associated with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So as and when we talk, think and act for Krishna, then you are spiritualized. And the more you are spiritualized, the more you are what do you call dematerialized. That means we are thinking, right, concept of materialistic thinking, that I am body and every my senses are also in relation to the body, and therefore everything is to be materialistically experienced. It is about all our material satisfaction of the senses. But spirituality is all about detaching from material aspects and attaching to spiritual aspect. So now that is completely facilitated by simply attaching to Krishna, his form, his name, his paraphernalia, his activities, whatever. Uh, One can very easily draw the mind away from Krishna. By detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn Vairagya. So this we can practically see. As you are engaging more and more in devotional life, that means practical activity, at our level, practical activity, as you engage, like Sunday, you go to the temple, whatever, 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock, then by the time you come back, it is already 3 or 4 o'clock, and then you get ready for one more session. And blissful, right? You don't feel tired or, oh, this today I went for a movie and I'm having a terrible headache. This movie, like either you are crying or you saw so much of nervous things happening, the whole day is gone. You have a big headache. When you go for the movie or when you go to a mall and come back, you're so tired, so exhausted. Oh my God, let me, lie down. You don't feel that at all. Even though sometimes you look tired, but the next thing you think about, okay, the next program is there. I don't know where the energy comes from. You can see this actually, like even if you're sick, there are many occasions when we are sick, we have given an assignment, and at that last minute we can't arrange a speaker or something like that. So many of the devotees I've seen, they will continue go on with the class or whatever, but you see they are at that point in time when they are giving that class or whatever, you see, are engaged in that service, you see they are not having that whatever ailment they had, but after that thing is over, all those things come back. you know uh, these are real facts. You don't know how. This looks like magic, but it does happen. Many of us would have experienced it also. It's very true. That means you are engaging with that supreme spirit. Then you are spiritualized. So you are no more in this bodily concept, and therefore you are not struggling with the problems of the body. So that's something which we can see, and it's mentioned here, right? And one can very easily learn vairagya. That means detachment. Oh, sometimes, oh, why should I leave? Why should I leave? You don't have to do anything. You simply attach to Krishna. The rest will automatically be taken care. You don't have to fear, oh, I should do this, I should do this, how I should go for some camp which will make me de-addicted from this activity, that activity. Nothing required. We simply have to engage in Krishna's service and those things. Just like they say, right, there are some mad children are there. I've heard this, you take those children to a cow shed, like cows, and make these children do some service to that cow, go touch the cow, clean that area, do whatever. Their madness is what do you call it, is sort of regulated. They become more and more clear with their mind. These are all some I've heard, and there are some places people do such things also. Like this, when we are in attachment with Krishna, so many anarthas leave our senses, and the vairagya or the detachment automatically develops. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in spirit. We have discussed this. Impersonal spiritual detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to the activities of Krishna. This is the point I was saying. If you simply impersonally think, that Supreme is formless and there's something up there in the clouds, you can never really attach to that thing. You know, there has to be a nice. We talked about this, right? A nice intellect of yours. Then I can easily relate to that, and I'm always easy to think about you, talk about you, glorify you, appreciate you, all that. But if I think of you as a void, where is the question of me having anything to do with you? This is there. Therefore, activities is very important. Personal form of the Lord is very important, and it is not an imaginary thing. Okay, just because I want to focus the mind, I will keep a body. There is some philosophies also, and those fellows keep, okay, if you like donkey, you keep that donkey and call it God. There are some philosophies like that. Then you can focus your mind on that God, but you are only focusing on a donkey, not on God. You should remember that. And we can very much go down the drain and become a donkey in our next life. So that is very much clearly there. Krishna says, right, whatever you are attached to, you will get that at the end of your life. We have also heard this story of Jadaparath, very advanced person, advanced devotional life he reached, but somehow towards the, somewhere when he is very profound, there was one deer which just came around trying to escape from a lion or tiger, and it was running very fast, and then while running, you know it was also pregnant. It gave birth. One of the fawn, it just fell off from the womb of the deer, and the deer kept running, and then the tiger caught hold of it and ended the matter. Now this fawn is there, and this Rishi is seeing this fawn, and then he is very much attached to the fawn, and somehow he was very much fixed on devotional life, but got attached to this fawn, and in the process he left his body thinking of this fawn. So in the next life, even though he was very highly evolved as a spiritual being, he got the life of a fawn. So but Krishna gave him the intelligence also to remember his past life, so that he was very highly, he was just about to reach to that perfection before that this happened. So Krishna gave him that what do you call that extra line to say, okay, you remember your last life. I was such a great fellow. Now I am a fawn. And then he realized, okay, now what misfortune that I have done. Then he goes to the ashram of the munis, and then that as a fawn, he's lingering around there trying to hear about the glories of the Lord. He spends his life, that fawn life, like that. And next life he again comes back as a human being, and then he decides, I will not attach to anything. And he acts like a madman, that so that I don't want to be involved in anything. Everybody thinks I am a fool and people don't bother me. So he remains like that, and then he reaches his perfection. So the point I was making is so the point we are making is, the idea should be to attach to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not to attach to anything else. And Krishna says, but if you attach to me, so the point I was making is, if you are thinking of that form of donkey as God, you may think whatever, but we will only get a donkey's body in the next life. But Krishna says, if you are thinking of me at the time of leaving, you will attain my planet. He says that in Bhagavad Gita we have read that very profound, right? That means whatever state of thinking you are having, you will attain that. So if I'm thinking donkey, then I'm only going to a donkey. I may think, oh, this is divine, but that's my foolish mental concoction. It is still a donkey only. But if you think of Krishna at the time of leaving the body, he says, you attain my nature, O Krishna. That means you come to my Goloka Vrindavana. O Arjuna, he says that like that. So therefore, the idea is to attach to Krishna, detach Vairagya, detach from material things. This attachment is called Paresanubhava, spiritual satisfaction. So now people may ask, right, how do you understand this satisfaction? So Prabhupada says, just imagine, mind-blowing how Prabhupada gives ways to simply understand things. Right? Many people say, no, how do you understand this? How do you understand this? So this understanding is not by way of some properties that you can describe. Okay, then you there will be 50 degrees change like this, or 20 degrees change like that, or something which can be measured which you will use as a yardstick. No, you will automatically feel the satisfaction coming from within. That is when you know you are in the right track. So that Prabhupada gives this wonderful example of how, when you feel hungry, but how do you know the hunger is gone, right? Is there any measure that we are doing? We are eating, but that does not say that feeling of hunger. How does it? We know as we eat, there is this feeling of satisfaction which comes in as, wow, very nice. That feeling. That feeling is something which is natural. So like this, when we are taking to Krishna consciousness, that feeling of paresanubhava, of satisfaction is automatic. There's nothing artificial about it. It is just like the feeling of satisfaction a hungry man has for every morsel of food he eats. The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. Similarly, by discharge of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from material objectives. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. So Prabhupada gives one more example. When you take things side by side, right? When you have to take medications, then you also follow it up with a specific dietary regime. Then it helps to have the medicinal impact coming very fast to us. So that is what it is. The next verse also we will see quickly. Here the point is, for one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. When you say this unbridled, what is the meaning of? If you read it in isolation, unbridled, but you should connect it with the previous verse where it is saying vairagya is important. Vairagya means detachment. So Prabhupada, that unbridled, he is relating to that vairagya to say, if you are wanting to keep attachment to material things and also simultaneously trying to do devotional service, it will take its long time to come to this point of self-realization. So many a times I have seen people ask, no, I will also follow Krishna consciousness, but I will also have my strong attachment to material activities. Right? What is wrong with it? Here I come for this purpose, but I also go to these clubs and other places for that purpose. Why to mix both these things? This is giving one experience, that is giving one experience. Okay, you are doing this to that extent, you are purified, but you are simultaneously adding the dirt back into our heart. This is like that elephant story, right? The elephant takes bath and it becomes clean, and then it again goes to the bank of the river, puts dust back onto his body. So like this, if you are continuing to have sinful life, then it's like cleaning, again adding sin, cleaning, adding sin, cleaning, adding sin. This is what they say. In some of the so-called, the religious thing, they say, okay, every Sunday I will go and seek forgiveness from the Lord, and then Monday onwards, and I'll continue to come and commit crimes. Then Sunday I go and say, please forgive me, oh my Lord. So the Lord is merciful, is forgiving, but our state does not change because I am adding, I am emptying, I am adding, I am emptying, I am adding, I am emptying. So that is something which we need to avoid. That's why we say 4 regulative principles. Like, you don't take meat, you don't gamble, you do not take intoxication, and you do not have illicit relationships. So these 4 are very primary, right? There are so many things, but these 4 are very, very primary, which brings in lot of karma. So if you are able to manage to do this, keep away from these 4 don'ts, that means regulated life, then you are more or less, and also have prasadam. That's the other aspect of it. Because we eat 3-4 times a day. And if that is sinful, Krishna is saying you are verily eating sin. If you are not taking prasadam, Krishna is using this word, you are verily eating sin. Therefore, if you avoid taking unoffered food, And if you follow the regulative principles, 90-95% of your karmic life is finished. Like, there's not too much of other sinful activities there in life generally if you follow these four regulative principles. And particularly in Kali, these are the four which are most dangerous ones. And if these four, if you are avoided and if you try to do this, uh, taking Krishna Prasadam, and of course cleaning whatever other dust is there through this chanting of the holy name, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. If you are able to clean your mind with this, the holy name, like, it purges, that very nice word, purging. Like computer specialists will know, purging means it will just collapse all the data, right? It's not like, deleting one file by one file. No, purging, I don't know. It just, I don't know how. It simply washes away everything. So like that, the holy name and prasadam has all these kinds of effects. So he says you need to try and curb that tendency to. Initially, it will feel little difficult, like, oh, that pani puri in that shop, I just cannot avoid. We have this, right? All of us have had these kind of experiences. It is irresistible. I want to have it. Yeah, we avoid once or twice. Third time it becomes okay. Chalo, it's not a big thing, right? It happens like that. Anything, any of our anarthas. For someone, it will be the food. For someone, will be, you know, something else. Each one of us have our trappings, right? We are somehow hooked. Maya hooks us in different things. So each one of us will have something which will draw us away. So we can, for someone else that may not be a big problem at all, but someone else that will be a big problem. That's okay. So as long as we take the holy name of the Lord, these things will automatically happen. Not focus on the negatives, focus on the positive. That's all. If we do that, we can get there. And we don't have to fear, oh, therefore, like if I leave all these things, what happens to me? My life is a waste. No. That experience, only when you experience, you will know, right? So you can't judge it by assuming that, it will be a bad life for me. No, you will be blissful. That bliss you will not experience. You can't experience or imagine. So, all of us in our own experience, to the extent we are sincere, to that extent we are seeing results, right? Not that even as I'm speaking, it's not like I have achieved great things in spiritual realm, but to whatever extent I am trying, I will see some results. To whatever extent someone else is doing, he will see results. So this is very important. And Prabhupada says, therefore, one must control the mind by engaging it constantly in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Unless one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, he cannot steadily control the mind. This is a statement of fact. If you want to control, you should accept Krishna. Otherwise, it is all artificial. You may think it is happening. So many people give you so many types of things, but that is not real. Krishna says, right? What is real peace means? Peace means understanding that I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that is real peace you will get. But otherwise, so many people give a lot of pieces, but those pieces will go in piece in course of time. That we will see. Those are all some flowery things outwardly, but inwardly it will not really stick on giving you permanent results. That is there. You can see so many things come up, flare up, and then everybody is so much attracted, and then it fades away into nothingness, right? You can see so many film stars, so many people who during that peak of they create such big history that everybody is only thinking about them. But if you really look back after maybe that few years of their prime, they are sometimes on the roads also, right? Nobody bothers. Even after that, even those who ran after him to get that signature, they won't even care, thinking that he may come and ask me for some money, I will get away from that place. This is practical. I have seen such cases where great singers, they have had such a wonderful following, but they have seen on the railway station sitting, nobody is bothering even to look at them at some point in time. So all their fame, name, whatever is all lost. So someone was asking this question to Banu Maharaj. So this Prabhupada, when he was there, he was not like maybe not the greatest of celebrity or anything like that. And Bhanu Maharaj said, yes, many of these people suddenly become overnight celebrities and everybody know about them. But Prabhupada was not known like that. Uh, that all over the world, people, when you mention a word like Prabhupada, they know. Like if you take today, what is this? Uh, the, say Narendra Modi. Everybody knows, world over, people knows Narendra Modi. But Prabhupada was not like that at that point in time. But then Bhanu Maharaj was saying, but see today, after 150 years also, Prabhupada's name is standing. And it will only be becoming more and more glorious. So this is about anything attached with Krishna. They are permanent. Nothing is very cheap that, it suddenly becomes thing and then it bursts off like nothing. So this is very real and we need to have that sincerity. We need to practice. Whatever my state, it's okay. I have so many negatives. I have whatever, that's okay. But I want to take Krishna into my life. That's all. That little endeavor will put us in a better state of affairs and we will be able to see the bliss. A Krishna conscious person easily achieves the result of yoga practice without separate endeavor. But a yoga practitioner cannot achieve success without becoming Krishna conscious. So Prabhupada ends here and I will end with that one. It is 8:20. If there are any questions, any comments, welcome. Hare Krishna. Overwhelmed with whatever I was saying, I suppose. Okay, complete silence.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
As you said, mind is very difficult to control. We are practicing from so many years. Still, mind is not able to control as well. Like whenever we see outside, like people are there very enjoying their life. That time we also enjoying here, but as Arjuna said, sometimes our mind goes here and there, and we have to bring our mind to the original platform, like to our Krishna conscious, to our Krishna classes. So if we leave classes or going temple for a few weeks, we really will totally forget. Like we'll attracted by Maya more. That's what we have to practice more. It's years together we have to practice. It's not like 1 week, 2 week, or 3 week. Like years together. Years together we have to be in association. Then only we can be controlling our mind.
Yeah. So the point is anything. See, this is that's why I always keep saying it's a way of life. If you want to keep it as a pickle, right? It will not work. And also, it is like, see, the Krishna consciousness is eternal. It's not like, 3 years I practiced and therefore I arrived at, See, it's like even after our becoming self-realized, that means you reach absolute. There also it is the same Krishna consciousness you are doing there also. See, Krishna consciousness is the end and the means both are the same. In many places, you do something to achieve an end. After that, what you did is immaterial. Right? Like, you may study whatever, very, very, very crude one. You are studying hard till 12th standard to get to maybe a college. You may use that knowledge, but not really in that way you use that. So once you reach that end, you don't know, no more have to solve a problem, right? Particular problem. But you are breaking your head solving that for 8 years. But after taking that job or, that degree, then you don't do that same problem or even apply it in any form and shape. So the means is something, the end is something. But Krishna consciousness is means and the end is same. That means even after you are liberated, you are giving a Krishna Katha. You are either hearing or you are listening or you are chanting, you are doing. So all the same. But only thing is the state of bliss is different. Like, there you are like, fully in ecstasy. Here, at some point in time when the speaker speaks nicely, we feel little. After that, it goes away. But there, at that state, you will be completely blissful. That's the difference. But yeah, that means we need to be at it. And for whatever you have done also, you said 10 years. I'm sure you would have seen in 10 years what has changed. Right? So that's it. That is progress, but how we keep at it, we'll become better at it. That's how it is. But good observation. Thank you.
Because the surrounding also impacts us. We have to create this Krishna conscious awareness more and more. Today morning I went for the milk. One is a Hindu, one is Lingayat only. We had a breakfast. I said today is Ekadashi. Today is 2 Ekadashis like Uttana, like Shayana Ekadashi and Panduranga that Ekadashi goes Panduranga appeared, Pandrapura, some festival is going on.
Yes.
That suddenly he is telling today is Bakrid. No, in which way he is connected to Bakrid, I don't know. That is the how it is created outside eating and enjoying in that way is the nature of our life. It has been established. To overcome it, we have to create the environment like Krishna consciousness is their surroundings. That type of awareness should be there.
Correct. That is what Prabhu here is saying, no? You need to be, he's saying, right? If you see when we read that thing, Prabhupada is saying, you need to be more and more engaged. Otherwise, other things will like knock you off. Till, we need to have that strength. For that strength, we need to be in that association of devotees or like-minded people, then we are more secure. Nice, good method. Actually we should meditate on these things to understand why it is, what it is. Then we can, make small steps and progress. And you don't see one thing you have to understand. We have time immemorial, we have been in this state of consciousness. Okay. Now we have got that little knowledge and we are trying to transform. And then, we expect that it will happen like this. You understand? Time immemorial. It is not like yesterday or day before only we got into this concept of life. We have been thinking and doing this for Charvita Charvananam for years and years and years and thousands of janmas. And now we know what is the process to go about it. And we take it little seriously. And there will be change, but overnight change is again, giving false promises. Nice, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So, Rohit Prabhu had put, the silence is absorbing the bliss of the session. Hare Krishna. Nice. Yeah. It has to soak in, right? So there is a time it takes to observe the thing. Thank you, Prabhu. Any other comments?
Yes. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Could I share my thought on 2 analogies mentioned in the second?
Please go ahead.
Sorry, the 35th verse.
Please go ahead, Prabhu.
You mentioned that word, Parasanubhava. That is a Parisanubhava. So that spiritual, satisfaction, like hungry man satisfied with that, that analogy, and a devotional service compared to curing the disease by the process called Krishna consciousness. So, but after, the Maya hitting, left, right, center, but even though, the mind is not totally behind the surrender or taking up seriously this Krishna consciousness, so this imbalance, will not happen without mind control. That is answered in the next sloka, as you mentioned. So, and another yoga, and this comparison is very nice, Prabhu. See this, even to achieve that goal of yoga, one has to come to the platform of Krishna consciousness.
Yes.
Otherwise, as you mentioned, it is so, you know, artificially attempting something like that.
Yes.
That is a reality.
Right.
Very nicely.
Good observation.
Thanks, Prabhu.
Hare
Correct.
Krishna. Nice take homes. Very nice. Okay. Maybe, I don't know if it was heavy, but no. Don't, we should not immediately become frightened, right? Okay. Yeah, we know it is where we are, but how we take it. This is a pleasant, beautiful journey. Right? This Krishna consciousness is always pleasant and beautiful journey. So we take it in our stride, and Krishna will make everything happen.
Maybe just wanted to say a couple of things from First, just moving away a little from our books, but one of the really good books that I've read is The Atomic Habits. Very, very beautiful book. But very simple concepts. But he says, as you want to attain whatever goals, it's not the goal, it's the process that matters. Right? The repetition of what you do matters, right? And enjoying the repetition also matters. So when I was reading that and stuff, right, I was just relating to what we really follow in our scriptures and everything else, right? The repetition is the chanting, right, of what you do every day, and it's every single day that you do it, right? And having prasadam is being attached to whatever it is, right? It's a bliss by itself, right? You enjoy eating, so you enjoy eating prasadam.
Nice.
So when you eat prasadam, you think of God as well, right? Of Krishna at some point of time. So just relating to it, when you want to attain the higher goal, do the right things more consistently every single day.
Yes.
Be it chanting, be it prasadam, and it's ingrained in our culture in so many ways, right? It's just that we didn't break it, or I didn't break it. We haven't heard it being broken down in so many ways, right? So, it's just the relation of how much powerful our culture is.
Yeah.
It's just that we don't realize it more than anything else.
Very true. So now on this point, not that you said that way, but I am wanting to just extend it a little bit to make a point. See, sometimes, when these kind of philosophers, right, when they so there was a case also, like people were saying, by this repetitive mantra, you are actually controlling the mind. So they made it as a process. That means, for example, if I keep saying Coca-Cola, 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 will that happen? So they were like, it's fact actually. If you write down, we say also, if you write down your ambition, then that will write in your head. There's a technique like that. That's why you say, whatever your goals in life, write it down. Don't simply think alone. Thinking is good, but if you write it down, this actually writes in the head, I believe. That means you are more likely to achieve that objective. So that means these are all techniques which are material, like that. So therefore, if someone is to therefore extend that to say, okay, you say this mantra and therefore that will make you like that, not in a material sense, but this is more in a spiritual sense, because here it goes into a further sphere of it, saying that name will actually erase your misgivings of what you thought you were. It's like, so that's there, which sphere these fellows will not be able to go in there at all. That only our Rishi Munis who have experimented into that sphere, they can talk about it. So some people talk it as like, okay, basically you're brainwashing. Means, by repeatedly doing this thing, you will become like that, which is there in a material form and shape, which can be applied in many material forms. But here, the name of the Lord actually erases this concept of material perception of a human body. And it actually shows you that you are actually the spirit behind that body. That revelation happens by this holy name. That's the point.
Very nice, bro. Very nice.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thanks for bringing this.
And you mentioned this, right? And the mantra is much more than just a word. It's much more transcendental than we think it is. So every time you utter it, there is purging is the right word. Cleansing that keeps on happening.
Yes.
So very nice, bro.
There's a beautiful song which says, Golokera Premadana Harinama Sankirtana. See, that means Golokera Premadana. We understand this. Prema is love and Dana is wealth. Where is it coming? What is that coming from? Where is it coming from? Golokera, from Goloka. What is that? Something which is complete love and it's wealth coming from Goloka. What is that? Harinama Sankirtana. That means this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, or whatever the Harinam Sankirtan that you are doing, that is coming from the spiritual platform. It is not material platform. So that same example is given. Okay, therefore, can you keep on chanting Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola 106 times, 108 times into 16 rounds over a week, over a month, over a year? You will go mad. I will write and give it to you. Forget that. Even a movie song. How much some great songs are there, right? But if you put it and hear it all the time in your car, like generally saying people all that's everybody hearing only that song. But after, let's say, maximum very good song means 1 month. After that, you are fed up with that song. You immediately change that, right? So that is the power of material thing. But this mantra, the more 30 years if you do, then it becomes even sweeter after 30 years. We have seen many devotees like Loknath Maharaj today, it is his Vyas Puja, that means birthday, 70-year-old. His kirtans are amazing. And he has been doing the same kirtan, means the same words for 70 years. Or rather, 50 years or plus. Of course, all of our like Maharaj's spiritual masters. But I took his name because today is his appearance day, that means birthday. And he is an amazing kirtan. And he will say, like, the more you are taking this, the more taste you develop for this name. But any material name, you will not feel like that. You will want to change that. Okay, give some other words now, it is boring to me, kind of.
Very true, Prabhu.
Yeah, very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we will end here. It's 8:35 and maybe it's getting late for people. Tomorrow office, prasadam, so many things are there. So thank you all very much for joining. We will catch up next week. Hare Krishna. I will end.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mata.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thanks.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna devotees on the YouTube. Thanks for joining.